Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Shayne, I write romance and romantic fiction, and today I'm talking about all the books that I want to read this coming fall season. We're talking September, October, November, that have all the fall vibes. And for me, the fall vibes are romances that are cozy, or spooky, or magical, or a combination of all three. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, I have Black Witch Magic by Mila. I heard about this book from Jean's Thoughts. She's another author tuber and booktuber, and I will link her channel down below. It sounds very kind of combination, I don't know, I'm getting like small town vibes, definitely witchy vibes. It says, librarian by day, cursed witch by night. That's actually all I need. But to continue on, it is about Celine Blackstone, who spends her days camped out in libraries with her nose in a book, and she's an outcast, and she and the rest of the town believes that she descended from witches. So she's constantly trying to kind of keep out of the radar of all the townspeople. And then a paranormal investigator comes to town because he has heard about this little cozy town and the tale or the fable, sort of the myth of Celine's grandmother. So that is where all these rumors have come from, is that her grandmother was this notorious witch. So he comes to town to investigate this, and he meets her, and he's trying to get the scoop from her, and she's trying to keep him from getting the scoop. And you guessed it, sparks fly. So that sounds really good. It looks really interesting. I had never heard of it. So this is why I love being on BookTube, because I find out about books I would never have heard of otherwise. So that is Black Witch Magic by Mila. Next up, we have something that is more in the high fantasy realm called Never the Roses by Jennifer K. Lambert. I have to mention here that this author used to be in my writing group, so I kind of know her. This is really exciting. And this is the story of a very powerful sorceress, Onira. Onira's great power is that she can infiltrate the dream world and sort of create things in the real world from what she finds in dreams. So she was sort of recruited / kidnapped or bought at a very young age once the like other people found out that she had this great power, and she was taken away to the school where she was trained in magic, and basically they sort of trained people and sort of force them to pay off the debt of training them in order to gain whatever advantage they want, wage war over their enemies or whatever. So she was raised to do this from a very young age, and one day, after she has sort of like paid off her debt and committed like the final ultimate act of war that she feels terrible about, she retires to her little, builds herself a place, a sanctuary away from everyone to sort of live out the rest of her days. So I'm getting Circe, exiled to the island vibes, which I love. As she's sort of living her life and trying to make sure that no one finds her and that she doesn't get bothered, other little creatures start dropping in. I'm thinking like Shrek, where Shrek just wanted to be left alone in his little hut, and all the forest and magical critters started coming and invading, and then he had to get involved in their business. So she's kind of getting found by all of these little creatures. So she's developing like a little menagerie. And she's read every book in her library, and she realizes she's bored. So she goes into the dream world looking for something. You know how when you're bored, you don't know what it is you're looking for, but you got to find something or you will just lose your crap. So she goes into the dream world and finds the library of her arch nemesis. Now, this arch nemesis is somebody that she's never met, but he is apparently another sorcerer who has magic that rival her own. And the two of them were the stuff of legends. Even though they never met, like everybody around them would speculate what would happen if they clashed, if they battled each other, and who would win. So just basically by word of mouth and reputation, they are each other's arch enemies. Well, she has heard that he has the biggest library in all the land. And she's like, well, I can definitely find something in his library that I haven't read yet. So she enters the dream world to filch something from his library. And that begins a sort of back and forth that leads to great and, I'm sure, romantic and terrible things. So that is one I'm really looking forward to getting through, and that is Never the Roses by Jennifer K. Lambert. Next up we have The Spellshop. The Spellshop has been out for a while. I have been wanting to read this book since I heard about it. Another cozy fantasy witch story that a lot of people have said that they loved. Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. I don't know if I already said her name. This one is about well, first of all, it's about Kiela, I think is how you say it. I could be totally wrong about that. But she is, again, sensing a theme here, like women who are sort of outside of society and prefer to be alone. There's a theme there. Maybe that's why I love witch stories so much, because they really are about sort of women who are outside of society and are finding like their own peace, their own essence, their own thing in the world. So anyway, she's always had trouble dealing with people, and as a librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, she hasn't had to. And she has a spider plant as her friend, a sentient spider plant. This makes me think of Calcifer in Howl's Moving Castle, so I'm already on board with this. And it looks like something happens where a revolution happens and they start burning all the libraries. That sounds very of the times, very apropos. And she manages to steal or rescue. No, not steal, rescue some of the books and make off with them, escape to a faraway island where she can sort of make use of these books by selling the spells, even though it is illegal to do so. And that, I'm all for it. Sounds like sort of like a low-key, like rebel, but she's a librarian and she has a spider plant and there is a romance. So this sounds really good. Looking forward to getting into this one. And that is The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. Next up, another cozy witch book called Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. Lucy Jane Wood is also an author tuber and booktuber, so I will link her channel down below. This book came out last year. So I think in this story, so our main character is named Belladonna, and she apparently is a witch, but she hasn't really figured out her magic, or she has lost touch with her magic. And she's also working at a bookstore with a toxic boss. Toxic boss. Let's just start all over. So she works at a bookstore, has a bad boss who's running the bookstore to the ground, and she's also trying to conceal that what little witchcraft she does have, she's trying to conceal it. And she's burnt out. Now that I can relate to, being burnt out on her job. So when her 30th birthday comes around, she gets a summons from her coven where they are testing. Basically, she has to go through a test or a series of tests to prove that her magic is worthy or else lose it altogether. So the story is about her trying to figure out how to keep her magic. And along the way, she meets an unlikely mentor and a watchman. Oh, I'm getting like guardian protector vibes here. This could be really great. Yeah, I'm loving it. It says a found family, slow burn romance, and an uplifting message about self-love. This is the cozy autumnal read that you've been waiting for. Well, it sure sounds like it. So that is Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. Next we have Crazy Spooky Love by Josie Silver. So Josie Silver wrote another seasonal book called One Day in December, I think. Let me look at my little books list here. I think, do I even have it on here? Let me see here. Hold on. No, I think it was One Day in December. That sounded really good. And so now she has a sort of Halloween one book. And it says, a plucky medium, her fame-chasing ex, and an infuriatingly handsome skeptic reporter make for a complicated love triangle. And that's before the ghosts get involved. That log line's all I need. Love triangle, spooky vibes, ghosts. Yeah, everything I need. I don't even know what more to say about that one. That is Crazy Spooky Love by Josie Silver. Okay, next we have An Ancient Witch's Guide to Modern Dating. The hook is in the title. Love it. Also, this cover is amazing. I actually love a lot of these covers, but this one is just, there's something about this one that just really, something about the juxtaposition of the cozy cottage with the big like skyscrapers in the background and this blue, purple, starry, sparkly sky with the classic witch on her broom silhouette, and then the little fluffy white cat in the foreground, and the cobblestone path leading up to the cottage. Love. So this is about a 39-year-old witch who's having trouble finding love in the 17th century. You mean it wasn't easier back then? What? Anyway, so she's been doing the love potions, been doing the matchmaker, nothing, nada. I mean, sister, I can relate. So she has yet to fall in love. She's lost her sister and her mother. Life is happening. She can't really focus on dating anyway. I mean, I get it. I get it. So one of her potions backfires and she gets time traveled into the future. Honey, I'm sorry to tell you this, but it ain't any easier in the present day either. But I'm looking forward to seeing how she navigates, because I'm thinking this is going to be a story where it's going to be fish out of water, clearly, which love that. But I feel like there might be some keys to life, maybe like blending of old and new. I'm sensing that that's going to be sort of the situation here. So when she gets hurtled into the future, I think where she worked or where she lives is now a museum. And so she spends her days in the museum trying to sort of figure out this new world. And the museum has a curator that she teams up with to kind of help her navigate. And the curator has a charming veterinarian brother. So an animal lover. I mean, I already love him. And that is the setup. So she's diving headfirst into the 21st century dating scene. You have my sympathy, girl. This should be good. That's An Ancient Witch's Guide to Modern Dating by Cecilia Edward. Okay, next up, something a little bit darker, a little bit grittier, by an author whose previous books I've already read and loved, and that is The Possession of Alba Diáz by Isabel Cañas. This is, I think, her third book. Her previous two books were The Hacienda, love that, Vampires of El Norte, perfect summer gothic romance read. And this is her latest. It just came out. Perfect, I think, for the fall vibes, particularly getting closer to October and November. The tagline is, when a demonic presence awakens deep in a Mexican silver mine, the young woman it seizes must turn to the one man she shouldn't trust. Yes. For best-selling author Isabel Cañas. So this is taking place in 1765. She's really, the kind of her sweet spot is historical fiction set around different periods of Mexican history. So I love that. First of all, I just love that it's diverse. I love learning about parts of history because a lot of, we are, United States borders Mexico. There's a lot of cross-cultural influence, strife. Yeah, strife that really shouldn't be, just because there's strife across the globe. But I love learning about, these parts of history and these stories and these viewpoints that I certainly didn't learn in school. And it's just been really great to not only learn about these other aspects of history, particularly Mexican history and how it interacts with U.S. history, but also because she does such great research and she's an amazing writer. You feel like you're there. When I was reading The Hacienda, I was like, wow, I feel like I am getting a real view, a real peek into how it might have actually been to live back then. So I'm really looking forward to this. So it sounds like this one is It's 1765. We have a plague. She's fleeing, basically trying to get away from where the plague is to this isolated mine. So getting some Gothic vibes there. Isolation. A unique location, though. And then she starts having strange hallucinations and convulsions and trying to figure out what's going on there. And then Elias, haunted by a troubled past, came to the New World to make his fortune and escape his family's legacy of greed. And Alba is his cousin's betrothed and none of his business, which is, of course, why he can't help but notice her. So we got forbidden romance going on. We got, like, off limits. Oh, love this trope. Anyway, in the fight of her life, Alba and Elias become entangled with the occult, the church, long-kept secrets, and one another. Delicious. Love it. Right up my alley. What this author does really well, and that is The Possession of Alba Diáz by Isabel Cañas. Last but not least, I'm really looking forward to this one. Son of the Morning by Akwaeke Emezi. So I saw on their Instagram, what did they say on their Instagram? I put it in my notes. Hold on. So they said on their Instagram, a paranormal romance novel with Black Southern Gothic vibes featuring a love triangle involving the devil himself. I immediately commented, say less. Boom. It's happening. I cannot wait. So I remember them talking about the next book that they were writing when they were interviewed by Simon Savage of Savage Reads. It's one of the first booktube accounts that I ever followed. It was a really great interview. I'll try to, now that I'm thinking about it, I'll try to find that interview and link it down below. And I think I remember them saying that they were working on a fantasy novel. And I think this is it. I don't even think I want to know any more than that going into this. So Akwaeke Emezi also wrote You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, which is an amazing, also kind of messy, complicated love triangle situation. Very sensual, sexy, forbidden romance. Great for summertime. They also wrote, their follow-up book to that was Little Rot, which was most definitely not a romance. I would classify that one as an erotic thriller. I mean, it's kind of adjacent to what I love. Sexy times, romance, desire, all of that. Definitely a different type of story. Akwaeke Emezi is very much a genre sort of, they write whatever they want, but everything they write really well. But this one does sound like we're getting more into romance vibes, love triangle, deliciousness, taboo, sexy. I mean, what? Black Southern Gothic vibes with a love triangle and Lucifer. Sold is happening. Cannot wait. And that is Son of the Morning by Akwaeke Emezi. And that is it for my TBR for the fall. Giving myself 3 months. For me, pretty much up until after Thanksgiving, getting up to December is fall books for me. So I'm giving myself those 3 months to try to tackle as many of these books on my TBR as I can. And that is it for my fall romance TBR. Let me know down in the comments what books are on your TBR for the fall. And until next time.